Have you ever seen the statue of David? How about the tomb of Pope Julius II? Have you ever seen pictures of the Sistine Chapel? All of these are artworks created by Michelangelo. After reading articles on websites such as michelangelo.org and britannica.com, I can tell you the story of the great Michelangelo. Michelangelo di Lodovico Buonarroti Simoni was an Italian sculptor, painter, and poet. He was born on March 6, 1475, and died on February 18, 1564. He was born in the town of Capri, a small town inside of Valle Tiberina, near Arezzo, Tuscany. The town is now named after him, called Capri Michelangelo. His parents are Ludovico di Leonardo Buonarroti Simoni and his mother Francesca di Neri del Minato de Siena. His father, Ludovico, was a successful man working for the government, and after Michelangelo did not want to work in the family business, his father agreed to send him to an apprentice at the age of 13. His apprentice was the city's most prominent painter, Domenico Ghirlandaio. Michelangelo's first two sculptures were Madonna, seated on a step, and Battle of the Centaurs. These were mannerisms, an art form brought into light because of Michelangelo. Thus, this art was of sculptures created out of marble and shaped exactly like a naked man. Michelangelo wanted to do this art form because he asked the Catholic Church of Santo Spirito to study cadavers in their hospital. In exchange for his research, he would carve them wooden crosses. From 1498 to 1499, Michelangelo worked on one of his most famous pieces, the Pieta of Jesus after crucifixion, Mary holding his dead body. And from 1501 to 1504, Michelangelo worked on his statue of David. It is a 17-foot marble piece. David depicted the moment he decides to fight Goliath. The major significance of this piece is that to some it was a symbol of Florentine freedom. Many people said it was a masterpiece of form and line. A committee is made up of Leonardo da Vinci and Sandro Botticelli that was created and decided on where the piece shall be placed. They decided in front of Palazzo Vecchio, where it stands today. Michelangelo's most predominant piece, The Last Judgment. It was created from 1536 to 1541. The Last Judgment was painted on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. He was originally paid to paint 12 apostles on the triangle supports that held the ceiling up, and to cover up the central part of the ceiling. He wanted to paint a more complex scheme. It represented the creation, the fall of man, and the promise of salvation. Finally, it represented the genealogy of Christ. This work is a part of a large decoration within the chapel that represents the doctrine of the Catholic Church. Another group of pieces he created were the three statues for the shrine of Saint Dominic. One was an angel with a candlestick, another was a statue of saints, and the last was a statue of Petronius and Proculius. He continued to be heavily influenced by classical antiques. He was involved in a scheme of selling one of his pieces as an ancient piece, a Cupid made of marble. The piece was so good that the buyer invited Michelangelo to his house to see him. Michelangelo was the first Western artist whose biography was published while he was alive. Two biographies published during his lifetime. One by Giorgio Vasari proposed that Michelangelo's work was better than any artist, alive or dead. In Giorgio's words, supreme in not one art alone, but in all three. Nobody ever knew of any relationships Michelangelo had. The greatest written expression of his love was given to Tommaso de Baccalari, who was 23 years old when Michelangelo met him in 1532, at the age of 57. Cavallari was open to the older man's affection. Michelangelo dedicated over 300 sonnets and madrigals, creating the largest sequence of poems composed by him. Some modern commentators say that the relationship was just a platonic affection. Late in life, Michelangelo nurtured a great love for the poet and noble widow Vittorio Colonna. He met Vittoria in Rome in 1536 or 1538, and she was in her late 40s at the time. They exchanged sonnets and were in constant contact until she died. It is impossible to know for certain whether Michelangelo had physical relationships.